I think for a junior copper company, it's best characterised as the best of times, it was the worst of times. I think there's two consensuses which I've been seeing growing in the market amongst commentators and investors since I took over as COO in January of this year, and we brought in a new strategic investor. And those two consensuses are, number one, that copper is highly attractive and there's a supply issue. I'm not going to propose to regurgitate everything that's been said a lot more succinctly over the last 2 days by other people on copper, but we are strong copper bulls. That's why we have a pure copper gold focus within this company. The second consensus, and the thing that's navel gazed again and again, is how do we get the necessary value as an equity stock for our companies and for our assets, which I think was put very well in the investor panel yesterday morning with Mr. Ferguson. And how do we access the capital that we need to do decent work? Now, these are significant issues. The third issue that we have as well within Bezant, and I thought I'd come in here and talk to you about my problems, not just shamelessly promote the stock, is political risk as well. Because I think political risk is an issue and an opportunity for us as a company with its major asset in the Philippines, which is not a very attractive destination, or hasn't been for the last 4 years, and also with an asset in Argentina. So just to summarise, that's it, Philippines itself. You can see the guy on the right's very taken with the new CEO who's turned up in his jacket. But as I said, I came on as CEO in January. We restructured the company for a pure copper gold focus. And we brought a new strategic investor onto the board who's followed myself and Evan into other companies, which is Colin Bird. Some of you may know Colin Bird. He developed Kawara, which was sold to First Quantum from $600 million. And he's also built a series of companies, including Jubilee Metals. And again, we are strong copper bulls. We believe that there needs to be an immediate, over the next 5 years, immediate access to real projects that can unlock physical copper. Copper fundamentals, political risk, and what's actually viable. That's what I'm proposing to talk to you about today. Two assets. This is the first one. This is Mankind in the Philippines. The red thing is the porphyry down at the bottom. We're located in Luzon, the North Island. Lots of people don't like the Philippines to invest in. Lots of people have pulled out of the Philippines. I can understand the reasons why. But at the same token, having worked around the world, as many of you have, I quite like a country where I can fly into the airport and drive all the way to site on tarmacked road and use main power, my telephone, sleep perfectly safely at site, come back again and operate in pretty much a first world environment. Yes, there's an awful lot of conversations about what's going to be happening in the mining sector in the Philippines, but I think the issue, if I'm honest, is not the president attacking certain sectors of the mining industry in the Philippines, which is frankly open pit and nickel, which is based on safety, whereas we're an underground copper gold mine. The biggest issue is a certain stagnation within licensing. And I think actually a lot of that has been shaken up in the Philippines, and we intend to move this project on. This project, if you want to read about the Mankind project, we've produced, one of the pieces of work we've done in the last 8 months is produce this specific report on Mankind. So I'm not going to go through the metrics to a series of seasoned mining professionals. This is characterised as being a project which, quote, would have been a mine if it was anyone else by the Philippines, which is what one of the major mining groups said to me earlier this year. The difference is, last year, nobody would look at this project, and this year, people are interested in this project and are interested in the development potentials, partly because I think the Philippines mining sector is getting a lot better, and partly because there is a desperation for access to physical copper. There aren't many projects like this. It's not 1 billion tonnes, no, it's 250 million tonnes, but it's got attractive margins. The lift sequence is very interesting in terms of what you can get to the returns for the capex. And again, we take you through this at another point ad nauseum. But what we have is The left-hand side of this slide and the advanced scoping study in the Snowdon resource report that's put out versus a perception of the Philippines being too difficult to work in and a series of major mining companies that have pulled out of the Philippines over the last 5 years. I strongly believe that that position will be reversed because I strongly believe, again, that there is improvement in the Philippines and it will be difficult and there is going to be issues as we progress this project forward and trying to convert our license. But I think the Philippines is a very viable place to do business. And I think it's a much better investment proposition than many regions in the world which have seen significant amounts of capital put into them, which has been destroyed by national issues. So I think there's a cusp of a sea change here, which I really believe in. I like working in the Philippines. That's the other thing. I like going to the Philippines. I feel safe in the Philippines. I feel I can do business in the Philippines. This is our other project, which is Argentina, Eureka project. It's at the diametric opposite of mankind, although we do like a politically difficult environment, it would have to be said. Essentially, not much work has been done on this project. It's up in Huhui. It's an old mine where they mined the easy stuff. I wouldn't say artisanally, but I would say non-advanced mining techniques. It's a series of red bed layers, we believe, with conglomerate. What we need to do is sink 4 to 8 holes down into the zones that we've identified as being prospective feeder zones, which we think are predominantly going to be consolidated feeder zones of copper. But again, the problem we have is we come back to the beginning of this presentation, we come back to everything we've seen in the last 6 to 7 months in terms of how do we get the money to do this. We have a bombed out share price. This is our problem. We have lots of copper. This isn't stock footage. All our photos are ours. We have lots of copper. We have real assets. We have assets in the spectrum of what you might like as a copper gold project to put into production within the next 5 to 10 years. We've got a big porphyry and we've got probably, let's call it a sub 50 million capex project which needs exploration work done on it. We have a share price of 4.5 million currently. So yeah, I'm not here to whinge about the undervalued nature of our share price because I think all of us, including myself, are bored with CEOs of junior companies doing that. But these are problems to be solved and there are ways of solving them. So we're a board, I think, with quite a bit of experience, not just in developing mines into production outside of a major mining environment and also transacting projects. We're also a board that I think has quite a bit of experience in putting together corporate structures and ways of doing things. I think basically stealing some ideas from the LNG sector, which is a sector I've worked in as well, such as SPV and farming model, is extremely interesting. I'm not talking about the model where you give away all your off-take and you basically hamstring the entire project with your project partners. I'm talking about something a bit more advanced on this. But what I want to do with our portfolio of assets at Bezant in a rising copper gold market, in a market which I think really needs available copper quickly, is actually deploy capital into these projects, doing the drilling, the development, the feasibility study to move these projects on. Sitting here as a junior company and pretending to do work and just believing somebody will come along and give me a great big check is not good enough, and that was the time of the past. We now need to move into something different. So bluntly, what I'm here doing with the team this week, or these 2 days, this is the first time we've been out of the traps. We've spent the last 8 months with a new geological team, with our engineering team, going through all of the licenses, going through all of the data, going through all of the core, step by step, and again, building up new data rooms, building up new pieces of information we can give out publicly, including the strip logs of our core drill intersections within here, including the Goldfields hole, which was drilled by them on this project in, I think, 2014, and understanding this project so we can go and talk to investors about how we move this company forward. Mankind had a $70 million option over it on the project until a few years ago. Bezant, when me and some of the team here today were advisors on the project, we took 10 million off the table and we returned half of it to shareholders, and our share price went up to 50p. I strongly believe that we can do that and possibly better again. But the other interesting thing is the last drill hole the Goldfields drilled was one of the most high-grade drill holes that was ever drilled on mankind. There's still lots of opportunity within this project. The issue is we've got to solve some of the problems as a junior stock. Sorry, Leo.